Leaders at one McNairy County church face jail time tonight. That's because they refused to back down before accusations of trademark infringement. ABC 7 Eyewitness News reporter Mallory Cook was at the Guys Church today and joins us live with the details. Mallory?
Brad, despite a federal judge's ruling, a creation of the Seventh-day and Adventist Church and Guys won't change their name because they say it violates their right to freedom of speech and religion. The name is a mouthful, a creation of the Seventh-day and Adventist Church.
This is the name that the Lord has given us, that no other name we can take can be appropriate.
It's also a name entrenched in controversy. The International Seventh-day Adventist organization wants the Church and Guys to change its name.
When we started out 20 years ago, we expected this would happen to us.
But the Church refuses to do it.
Our religion requires us to use this name.
The Church and Guys broke away from the international organization back in 1991.
For about 20 years, they've known who we are, why we're separate, what we're doing. We've never been confused with them, and we've always been very forthcoming.
Next Tuesday, members say federal marshals will destroy anything with the church's name on it that links them to the mother church. In addition to taking down the sign outside, church leaders worry the federal marshals could destroy anything inside this building. Because the church opposes the judge's order to change the name, members could go to federal prison.
A jail term, while it's unpleasant, while, they're stripping us of our livelihood, our jobs, our freedom, they can't strip us of our faith.
Members vow to stand their ground.
This is our faith. And if there are consequences for that, that's up to our God.
We spoke with the attorney representing the International Church on the phone. He says his client and the court aren't asking members to alter their religious practices, only to not use the words Seventh-day Adventist in the name of the church because that infringes on their trademark. Mallory Cook, ABC 7 Eyewitness News.
A long-standing feud between one McNairy County church and the worldwide Seventh-day Adventists reached a breaking point today.
Protesters could only watch as crews dismantled signs linking a Creation Seventh-day and Adventist church to the Seventh-day Adventist denomination. ABC 7 Eyewitness News reporter Mallory Cook joins us now live with the story. Mallory?
Brad Kelly, the worldwide Seventh-day Adventist organization claims the Church and Guys violated their trademark, and the judge agreed. So today, their signs came down. Protesters watch as one by one pieces of sign fall off a Creation Seventh-day and Adventist church.
They're coming out here to take our church apart, basically. Strip us of our faith, strip us of our name, strip us of our identity.
A federal judge says the Church and Guys violated the trademark of the worldwide Seventh-day Adventist, which allowed workers to tear down anything linking them to the international organization.
We're here carrying out the injunction order, taking down some signage materials that's violative of the order.
The Church and Guys refuses to change its name.
That name is a name God gave us, and it's a name He wants us to use, so we can't take another name.
Jody Mueller flew all the way from California. She says a Creation Seventh-day and Adventist represents more than just a name.
It's our banner. It's our banner that we were told to hold until Jesus comes back.
In addition to taking down the sign outside, lawyers also plan to confiscate business cards, signs, and books, all because they have the name Seventh-day Adventist on them. Members plan to stand their ground.
We're going to continue preaching as we can, wherever we can.
But admit for now, the future of the church looks cloudy.
We'll have to pray, take it to God, and see what He instructs us to do.
One church member says he will not comply with the court's request for information, which means he could face jail time, a consequence he says he's willing to take. Mallory Cook, ABC 7 Eyewitness News.
Our top story tonight, a McNairy County church admits to defying a federal court order and says members would rather go to prison than comply.
We first brought you the story about the Church and Guys last month when it was ordered to remove its sign because it violated the copyright of the International Seventh-day Adventist Church.
But now the signs are back up. ABC 7 Eyewitness News reporter Mallory Cook has been following this story. She joins us now live with the latest. Mallory?
A federal judge ordered the Creation, Seventh-day and Adventist Church and Guys to take down their signs for violating the trademark of the International Church. They refused, so the workers did it for them, but now those signs are back up. Signs at the Creation, Seventh-day Adventist Church and Guys are up and visible.
We took a bucket of paint, we got a ladder, and we restored our signs.
A federal court order allowed workers to rip down the signs last month after the International Seventh-day Adventist organization says the church and Guys violated their trademark.
This is the conviction for us. This is the name that God gave us to use.
Despite a problem with height, Lucan Chartier spent 5 hours repainting the signs Monday.
Whenever I got up there to do the signs, actually it was a great blessing. It seemed to be completely suspended. I was able to go up there as if I'd been painting for years on ladders.
And if the court removes the signs for a second time, members say they'll get right back out here and put them up once again. Members originally sported the name A Creation, Seventh-day and Adventist Church to separate themselves from the International Church. But the new signs dropped the A and the and.
Since I hadn't done anything, we decided to go with the original name that we were given.
Chartier believes he could be held in contempt of court.
Our faith is such that we would rather lose our lives than compromise our obedience to God on the smallest or the largest points.
The attorney for the International Seventh-day Adventist Church learned about the newly painted signs from us just today. Attorneys say they are looking into their legal options in due course via the court system. Mallory Cook, ABC 7 Eyewitness News.
We begin tonight with a West Tennessee church's trouble with the law.
A leader of a Creation Seventh-day Adventist Church and Guys stood before a federal judge today and admitted to violating court orders to take down controversial signs that bear the church's name.
ABC 7 Eyewitness News reporter Mallory Cook joins us live with the story. Mallory?
Brad, Kelly, an attorney says the pastor and assistant pastor could both face fines or even prison time.
Lucan Chartier, the assistant pastor of this church and Guys, stood before a federal judge Tuesday and admitted to violating court orders.
This is our conviction, and if I deny that I've done what I've done, it's really no different than just changing the name.
Workers ripped down signs at the Creation Seventh-day and Adventist Church in February after a judge ordered it. The court ruled in favor of the International Seventh-day Adventist organization and says the Guys Church violated that group's trademark. In March, the church and Guys put the signs back up despite court orders. Chartier claims it's because God told him to.
I have no option except for to continue doing what my religion dictates.
Attorneys believe both Chartier and the church's pastor, Walter McGill, could face fines or time in prison for refusing to answer questions and deliberately disobeying court orders.
A court can put you in jail and essentially give you the keys to the jailhouse in your pocket.
Attorneys representing the International Seventh-day Adventist organization refused to talk on camera today about the proceedings, but did say off camera that now the case is in the hands of the courts. Chartier admits he can't pay a fine, so if the courts decide to imprison him for contempt of court, he's ready.
If he decides that it's not in the gospel's best interest that I should be preserved, then my life is of little consequence.
Attorneys say it could take days, weeks, or even months for the courts to issue sanctions for the church members who disobeyed these court orders. Mallory Cook, ABC 7 Eyewitness News.
The Creation Seventh-day Adventist Church in Guys got an unwelcome Easter surprise this weekend, a court order to cease using the Seventh-day Adventist in their name or face prison time.
It's a battle the church has fought for 2 years. It's even reached the U.S. Supreme Court with the same decision each time. The West Tennessee Church is violating the larger church's trademark. 7 Eyewitness News reporter Empress Campbell joins us live with the latest. Empress?
Pastor Walter McGill and Luke Cartier have less than 15 days to comply with a court order and pay $1,000 in fines. If not, the U.S. Marshals will order a warrant for their arrest along with members of their church. But Pastor McGill tells me they will not comply or pay the fine. Pastor Walter McGill of Creation Seventh-day Adventist Church in Guys says he's ready to give up the pulpit for prison. all because his church has been ordered to quit using Seventh-day Adventist in its name.
We would really like to be able to comply to the court orders because we respect the courts. We respect the law. But in this case, the law is violating our conscience, and we must put conscience before the law.
Creation Seventh-day Adventist has been battling in federal court for years over the trademark name Seventh-day Adventist. The battle has recently came to a halt after the church was told either they had to comply with the court order or church leaders would be sent to prison. Pastor McGill says he's ready, and while incarcerated, he plans to fast.
I don't have the least bit of fear, and my church members have no fear, because we have perfect love.
Pastor McGill has been leading the Creation Church since 1991 and had been in Africa during the legal battle until just last month. He says he predicted the ultimatum.
I prophesied it to the church then, and I really expected it way before now. So I've been prepared for it a number of years.
McGill believes the established church are more concerned with money and business than people. Church members say they will not take down the signs with Seventh-day Adventists on them because they're not just words to them. They represent their religion. They expect U.S. Marshals to once again come in and remove the signs.
A West Tennessee pastor accused of stealing another church's name is jailed in California tonight and refusing to eat. Thanks for joining us. I'm Kelly McAllister. Walter McGill, pastor of Creation Seventh-day Adventist Church in Guys, has been wanted since May for basically, allegedly, stealing the name of the Seventh-day Adventist Church. Tonight, for the first time, we talk with his wife about his arrest and hunger strike. 7 Eyewitness News reporter Megan Pinkley joins us live with that story. Megan?
Kelly, U.S. Marshals arrested McGill on Friday at a Seventh-day Adventist church in California, saying he fled West Tennessee shortly before the warrants were issued in May. But when I spoke with the assistant pastor today, he said McGill was planning on holding a small press conference on Sunday before publicly surrendering himself. Barbara Eisenberg says although she knew her husband would be arrested, it didn't make it any easier.
He was given that vision. He was given that prophecy by God before, some years back.
Pastor Walter McGill of Creation Seventh-day Adventist Church in Guys was arrested on Friday in California for not taking the Seventh-day Adventist out of his church's name. McGill's church sued by the larger church in federal court for trademark infringement.
It comes to a choice between jail and your religion. And we can't surrender our religion. We can't surrender our obedience to God. We would rather die than dishonor Him.
According to Lucan Chartier, he and Pastor McGill had been traveling the country, confronting Seventh-day Adventist churches and its members, their last stop in California.
There are people that are being made a part of this lawsuit and have no idea about it. Those people need to have the chance. They have the right to protest, to say, we don't want this to be done with our money and influence. This is not Christianity.
This assistant pastor says it's not just about changing the name on that sign, but in doing so would be ignoring the name that God has chosen for their church. Eisenberg says her husband has not and will not eat while behind bars. She says he was told by God to fast while in jail.
But God will preserve him, and God has a plan. He has a way that he's going to be glorified in.
A spokesman for the Seventh-day Adventist Church says they do not want to shut down Pastor McGill's ministry, but want him to abide by the law. It's unclear at this time how long McGill will be imprisoned. Megan Pinkley, 7 Eyewitness News.
This is Channel 3, the church controversy that has a Mid-South pastor behind bars tonight. Good evening, everyone. I'm Claudia Barr.
I'm Richard Ransom. The pastor says he's following his faith, giving his church a name he says God sent to him.
The problem is that name is trademarked to another church. Now, the courts have stepped in, and tonight the Mid-South pastor is all the way on the West Coast, over that way, locked up for refusing to listen to the court. Wayne Carter is here now with tonight's big story. Wayne.
Well, good evening, guys. You've probably heard of breaking away from churches before, but this is much bigger and has gone much further. Courts are involved, a hunger strike, and services canceled at a very unique Mid-South church.
It's not your typical run-of-the-mill church. How often have you seen a former gas station turned into a place of worship? But right here, where it likely used to say full-serve, self-serve, it now reads Creation Seventh-day Adventist Church. It's the same name as a large congregation known around the world.
We have no way to change the name without disobeying what we understand God's instructions to be.
Assistant Pastor Lucan Chartier spoke to us by phone, saying the congregation in Guys, Tennessee used to be a part of the bigger church and broke away. They've worshiped here since 1991, and only recently were they sued, being told they could no longer use the larger church's name. That church just released a statement saying, "We believe Pastor McGill in his right to exercise his religious beliefs and operate a ministry. However, to falsely identify himself with an organization of which he is not a part is not acceptable."
It would be like a Baptist suing people for baptizing. It's pretty absurd.
The church is now shut down. No more services, largely because Pastor Walter McGill is locked up, arrested for ignoring a court order to change the church name. He now sits in a California jail, reportedly refusing to eat and ever change the name of his unique church, where you can shoot a few hoops while following your faith.
When it comes to a religious law that requires us to violate our convictions, we have to obey God rather than men.
Now tonight, the local church says they respect the court, but won't listen to them over God's instructions. We're live with the latest. Wayne Carter, WREG News Channel 3.
The West Tennessee pastor arrested by federal agents in California late last week will serve out his 25-day sentence in California. That's according to his assistant pastor. Pastor Walter McGill of Creation Seventh-day Adventist Church in Guys was wanted on a contempt charge. He had been ordered to remove Seventh-day Adventist from his church's name due to trademark infringement, but refused. We're told McGill is maintaining his fast while in prison, refusing to eat at all.
Lucan Chartier, a member of the Creation Seventh-day Adventist Church from Guys, Tennessee, turned himself into Redlands Police Department Tuesday night, July 31st, following a warrant issued for his arrest by a Tennessee judge in April. Chartier held a news conference behind Loma Linda University Church of Seventh-day Adventists prior to turning himself into police as he attempted to defend Creation and its pastor, Walter McGill. Worldwide Seventh-day Adventist Church sued Creation for trademark infringement in 2006 and won because it argued McGill was falsely identifying himself with the organization while he never had a connection to it. Chartier said Worldwide never attempted to contact them.
Prior to filing a claim in 2006, the Seventh-day Adventist Church attempted on multiple occasions to reach out to McGill, asking him to cease and desist usage of the name Seventh-day Adventist. After numerous attempts to resolve this matter amicably, the Adventist Church filed suit. Now, in the court records, as well as our church records, you'll find there is not one attempt made to contact us about this. Not one attempt was made to reach out to Pastor McGill amicably. Not even a legal complaint was received before a lawsuit was initiated. I'm a member of the Creation Seventh-day Adventist Church, and as a representative of that church, I would like to say officially that we are not associated with the Seventh-day Adventist denomination. We would prefer that you did not confuse us with them. Frankly, to be confused with an organization that has this as their modus operandi, that will call the police to haul away people who disagree with their beliefs, is something that no Christian in their right mind would want to be associated with. So please, do not confuse us with them.
I am Javier Cabrera for the Press Enterprise and PE.com.
Been in jail. It's the 19th day that he's been without food. The reason for this is that the church that we're standing at cares more about their perceived legal rights than the religious liberty of Christians. Now, we have been sued for trademark infringement. Our members are being jailed. Our church house has been raided. Our signs have been destroyed. Our materials have been confiscated because they say that we're confusing people with the name of our church. Now, I have here a statement that was released by the Seventh-day Adventist Church. And to put this diplomatically, there are several outright lies about the history of this case and the facts. For example, prior to filing a claim in 2006, the Seventh-day Adventist Church attempted on multiple occasions to reach out to McGill, asking him to cease and desist usage of the name Seventh-day Adventist. After numerous attempts to resolve this matter amicably, the Adventist Church filed suit. Now, in the court records, as well as our church records, you'll find there is not one attempt made to contact us about this. Not one attempt was made to reach out to Pastor McGill amicably. Not even a legal complaint was received before a lawsuit was initiated. Now, while you're all here, my name is Lucan Chartier. I'm a member of the Creation Seventh-day Adventist Church, and as a representative of that church, I would like to say officially that we are not associated with the Seventh-day Adventist denomination. We would prefer that you did not confuse us with them. Frankly, to be confused with an organization that has this as their modus operandi, that will call the police to haul away people who disagree with their beliefs, is something that no Christian in their right mind would want to be associated with.
In a follow-up, a second pastor of the Guys Church embroiled in a federal lawsuit with the Seventh-day Adventist Church has turned himself into federal authorities. Lucan Chartier, the assistant pastor of the Creation Seventh-day Adventist Church, held a press conference yesterday in Redlands, California, then turned himself in. Last month, head pastor Walter McGill was arrested on a similar federal warrant. The two were told they'd go to jail if they didn't take Seventh-day Adventist out of their McNairy County Church's name due to copyright infringement. McGill is serving out his sentence in California. He has refused to eat while in jail.
Okay. First and foremost, I want everyone to understand that I love my neighbors and I love my enemies alike. For this fulfills the law of God, which is written in my heart. And I also want to take this opportunity to thank all of those who are praying for me. Amen. During my incarceration. My 30-day incarceration was the experience of a lifetime, for which I thank my Father in heaven. It was truly the proving of faith. During my jail term, I overcame excruciating pain inflicted by shackles, chains, handcuffs, and discomfort from other sources. I turned the other cheek while suffering physical assault from my Sabbath observance. I endured false accusations along with occasional humiliation and ridicule from both inmates and staff. And lastly, I was supernaturally spared serious bodily harm on 2 occasions as purported gangsters threatened my safety. All of the foregoing served to empower me to press on toward the mark of the high calling of God in Christ Jesus. Amen. While fasting for the 30 days, I cleansed my flesh and spirit from all filthiness, as I perfected holiness in the fear of God. I intend to extend the fast 10 additional days for a total of 40, emulating the wilderness fast of my Lord and Savior. I was asked by one reporter at the beginning if I was making a statement by fasting in jail. Without intending to, I have made a significant statement. That is, if I can, by the enabling power of Almighty God, overcome the natural drive of hunger for 30 days and beyond, surely any penitent, believing soul can break the chains of substance addiction or habituation. Amen. Christ has made ample provision for all to become free from their besetting sins, and I pray for all while they struggle against the flesh to achieve victory, which God desires for all. One matter needs to be made clear, and I appeal to the media to comply with my request. The public needs to understand that all court-ordered sanctions against me have originated from the plaintiff church attorneys. This is a civil lawsuit, and the court relies on all lawful suggestions and demands from the plaintiffs in order to compose a contempt order. It was truly the Seventh-day Adventist Church that required my incarceration, though their spokespersons consistently deny any accountability in this regard. I am willing to endure whatever the adversary designs for me in the future. I cannot, and I will not, recant the exercise of my faith and religious practice as long as I remain a free man. Should I be forced by conscience to violate future court orders, let it be well understood. I must answer to the mandates of the Supreme Court of Heaven, which will ultimately decide my eternal destiny. I cannot fear what man will do to my body here on earth. In conclusion, I will, by the grace and the mercy of the Most High God, break the jaws of the prophetic dragon beast, and that not by human might nor by physical power, but by the Spirit of the living God. Amen. And finally, I wish to extend my heartfelt appreciation to a couple of precious souls that work in this central detention center. First is a nurse named Jonas, who served as an angel ministering to me in my darkest hours. And second is the prison chaplain, who gave me a special study Bible for my personal devotions and a source for sharing my faith with interested inmates. Today's a wonderful day to become a free man again. But soon, no one will know how soon, I may be in bonds again for the faith of Jesus Christ. Thank you for hearing me.
This is Adventist News Network, a service of the Seventh-day Adventist World Church. Thanks so much for joining us this week.
First in the news, an American pastor is in prison for defying a court's ruling in a trademark infringement dispute. Walter McGill was apprehended last week after surrendering to federal authorities in Southern California.
Hello, I am the American pastor referred to in the Adventist News Network clip. I would like to add that I was arrested on the grounds of the Loma Linda University Seventh-day Adventist Church on July 13th, just before the beginning of Sabbath.
The Adventist Church sued McGill after he used Seventh-day Adventist in his church's name, the Creation Seventh-day Adventist Church in Guys, Tennessee.
I would like to add one bit of pertinent information. We began using the name Creation Seventh-day Adventist Church in 1991. The Seventh-day Adventist Church did not sue us for trademark infringement until the year 2006. Some of us are amused at how long they allowed us to use the name that they seem to be needing to protect. So many years without any objection.
Although the church won the case, McGill refused to stop using the name. The Seventh-day Adventist Church's name is a registered trademark and can legally apply only to official churches, congregations, and denominational ministries.
I would like to point out that in this news clip, they failed to tell the reason why we were using the name Creation Seventh-day Adventist Church. That name was given to us by divine revelation. It was given to us as a mandate from God Himself. And so we have merely been obeying God's instructions to us. But what this boils down to is the will of God versus the will of man.
The Seventh-day Adventist Church has a right to a unique name, a name that only applies to itself.
The facts will show that the name Seventh-day Adventist existed before there was ever a General Conference legal entity. The name Seventh-day Adventist predates the official Seventh-day Adventist Church. Consequently, the name Seventh-day Adventist is the name of a religion. It is the name given to a body of believers who practice the Seventh-day Adventist faith. But I am not arguing that we are Seventh-day Adventists per se. We are Creation Seventh-day Adventists. We have taken another name, and that name was given to us by God Himself.
And what Walter McGill was attempting to do was take something that wasn't his, somebody else's name, and confuse the public about what is and is not the Seventh-day Adventist Church. By defending ourselves in court, the Adventist Church is able to keep that unique identity, so when people see the name Seventh-day Adventist, they know what it refers to.
I have a couple of objections to Mr. McFarland's statements. First, he says that the Seventh-day Adventist Church was defending themselves in court. They were the plaintiffs. They were not the defendants. They sued me individually, and they were doing this under the guise of protecting their good name. They accused me of defrauding them when I have never passed an offertory in a church service in 20 years. They accused me of cyber pirating. They accused me of confusing the public and diluting their famous trademark. These accusations have been proven in the courts of law to be false. It is true that I have lost the trademark case because of some technicalities, which I will not go into at this point. But for anyone who would like to know the truth of it, you may email me at pastor_CSDA@yahoo.com, and I would be happy to dialogue with you. The second part of Mr. McFarland's statement that is a little bit misleading is that I purposely took something that was not mine, or the implication is I was stealing. I've said before, I have taken only that which God has given me by divine revelation. Let me update this news clip with saying I served 30 days incarcerated in San Bernardino, California at the Central Detention Center. I fasted for those 30 days, and I extended the fast 10 more days to complete 40 full days of fasting. I'm, of course, released, and I'm healthy and doing very well. I'm very thankful for all who had concerns and all who prayed for my protection and release. Thank you, and good day. Greetings, I am Pastor Walter Chick McGill from Guys, Tennessee. I am the pastor of the Creation Seventh-day and Adventist Church there in Guys. I've been embroiled in a trademark lawsuit with the Seventh-day Adventist Church denomination since 2006. I lost the case in the district court, and I lost again on a technicality at the Sixth Circuit Court of Appeals in Cincinnati, Ohio. I filed a writ of certiorari with the U.S. Supreme Court, which was denied. I was found in contempt of court by the district court in Jackson, Tennessee, because I would not cease using the name Creation Seventh-day Adventist. I was arrested at the Loma Linda University Church of Seventh-day Adventists on Friday, July 13th, 2012, just before Sabbath. During my incarceration in the Central Detention Center at the San Bernardino County Jail, the Seventh-day Adventist Church released its official press release, and I intend to read the statement for you now. On letterhead, Seventh-day Adventist Church, North American Division, dated July 17th, 2012. R.E. Walter McGill and the Creation Seventh-day Adventist Church. Note, recent news reports have addressed the trademark infringement claims between Mr. Walter McGill and the Seventh-day Adventist Church. The following news release from the Seventh-day Adventist Church serves as an accurate account of the relationship between Mr. McGill and the Seventh-day Adventist Church. According to church records, Walter McGill was a member of the Seventh-day Adventist Church, but left in the early 1990s, citing reasons of doctrinal differences. He has never been a pastor of the Seventh-day Adventist Church. After leaving the Seventh-day Adventist Church, McGill began a new ministry, utilizing the name Seventh-day Adventist. Prior to filing a claim in 2006, the Seventh-day Adventist Church attempted on multiple occasions to reach out to McGill, asking him to cease and desist the usage of the name Seventh-day Adventist. These attempts were made because McGill's ministry was not part of the Seventh-day Adventist Church. After numerous attempts to resolve this matter amicably, the Seventh-day Adventist Church filed suit against McGill to stop using the name Seventh-day Adventist. As a part of the court process, the court ordered mediation, but McGill did not appear at any of the court-ordered mediations. The court warned McGill that his lack of participation in the mediations could result in sanctions. McGill continued to disregard and disobey the requests of the court. During this time, McGill also ignored the district court's orders by placing and replacing signage on his church's property containing the name Seventh-day Adventist, as well as operating websites bearing the name Seventh-day Adventist. It was at that point McGill was found in contempt of violating the district court's orders. It is not now, nor has it been, the intention of the Seventh-day Adventist Church to shut down McGill's ministry or for him to be jailed. Recent developments are the result of actions taken by the court because Mr. McGill did not comply with the court's ruling. Page 2. We believe that Mr. McGill has the right to exercise his religious beliefs and operate a ministry. However, to falsely identify himself with an organization at which he is not a part is not acceptable. This false association confuses the public, media, and at times members of the Seventh-day Adventist Church. The Seventh-day Adventist Church has defined processes and procedures for establishing and maintaining congregations. The doors of the Seventh-day Adventist Church are always open to the community and to anyone who wishes to worship in one of our more than 6,200 congregations in North America. The Seventh-day Adventist Church is a Bible-believing Protestant denomination. Its members base their faith, hope, and future in Jesus Christ. Seventh day indicates our adherence to the biblical Sabbath, while Adventists means we anticipate the promised return of Christ and identifies our faith community and distinct value system. The church has more than 17 million members worldwide and 1.2 million members in North America. Note, if you have any questions, please call George Johnson, Communication Director for the Seventh-day Adventist Church in North America, at area 240-338-2219, or Garrett Caldwell, Public Relations Director for the Seventh-day Adventist Church, at area 240-401-7279. That concludes the official statement by the Seventh-day Adventist denomination. The Creation Seventh-day and Adventist Church responded with its own official statement dated July 18, 2012. RE Official Statement from George Johnson Jr., North American Seventh-day Adventist Church Communications Director. Having recently been made aware of a press release by the Seventh-day Adventist Church purporting to explain the history of Pastor McGill and his relationship with the Seventh-day Adventist denomination, we offer this official response. Having reviewed the document, it is our position that the news release in question is an inaccurate account of both the history and the relevant facts. Creation Seventh-day Adventist Church records show the first complaint from the Seventh-day Adventist Church came via legal filing in 2006. The Seventh-day Adventist Church has never, on any occasion, attempted to reach out to McGill asking him to cease and desist usage of the name Creation Seventh-day Adventist prior to litigation. No attempt was made to resolve the matter amicably, and we would challenge the office responsible for the official statement in question to offer evidence supporting any claims to the contrary. Court records clearly demonstrate that the Seventh-day Adventist Church sought the permanent incarceration of Pastor McGill as early as 2009, only 3 months after Pastor McGill had filed his appeal with the Sixth Circuit, and while that appeal was pending a hearing. While the court declined to grant their request, it is demonstrably false that it is not now, nor has it been the intention of the Seventh-day Adventist Church for Pastor McGill to be jailed. Recent actions by the court are solely the result of Seventh-day Adventist Church persistently and repeatedly requesting sanctions involving incarceration against Pastor McGill in a civil lawsuit. It has been established both within and out of court that the use of the name Creation Seventh-day Adventist is an integral part of the religious beliefs of the eponymous church and its members. The exercise of those beliefs requires the use of the name. For evidence that the Seventh-day Adventist Church does not believe in Pastor McGill's right to freely exercise his religious belief, one must look no further than a jail cell in San Bernardino County. According to Judge Karen Moore, quote, "No one has questioned the sincerity of McGill's belief that God requires him to continue his infringing use of the plaintiff's marks. Being compelled to stop could substantially burden his religious practice," unquote. Cited in Opinion in GCC versus McGill, U.S. Court of Appeals for the Sixth Circuit, page 10. Finally, court records show that the Seventh-day Adventist Church was unable to produce a single item of evidence demonstrating confusion between the Creation Seventh-day and Adventist Church, page 2, and the Seventh-day Adventist denomination from 1991 to the present. Pastor McGill has not identified himself with the Seventh-day Adventist denomination since his separation, nor has the church of which he is a member. We again challenge the issuing office to provide any evidence whatsoever supporting the claim that the media, the public, and Seventh-day Adventist members are at times confused. According to Judge J. Daniel Breen, quote, "While the use of the mark was certainly knowing, there is no evidence that the defendant intended to confuse the public into believing that his church was one of the plaintiffs. Rather, the proof supports the conclusion that McGill chose the name for his church based on a divine revelation," unquote. Cited in GCC versus McGill, order granting in part and denying in part plaintiff's motion for summary judgment, page 22. The Creation Seventh-day Adventist Church welcomes questions and requests for documentation in support of any of its claims. Despite the hostile and aggressive actions of the Seventh-day Adventist denomination, it continues to operate internationally, offering the gospel of freedom from sin to those in need and preparing a people to stand in the day of God without blemish. Note, for further information or inquiries, please contact Lucan Chartier, area 731-607-9546, or email at claimvictory@hotmail.com, or contact David Aguilar at flyingcreature@hotmail.com. That concludes the official statement of the Creation Seventh-day and Adventist Church. I am Pastor Walter Chick McGill. Good day. Greetings. My name is Pastor Walter Chick McGill. I have been involved in a trademark lawsuit with the Seventh-day Adventist Church denomination since 2006. After being found in contempt of court for conscientiously using the name Creation Seventh-day Adventist, the district court in Jackson, Tennessee issued a warrant for my arrest. I was arrested July 13th, 2012 on the grounds of the Loma Linda University Church of Seventh-day Adventist in Loma Linda, California. I served 30 days in jail in San Bernardino County Central Detention Center. Prior to my release on August 11th, 2012, I was inspired to write a letter to the General Conference President, Elder Ted N.C. Wilson. On August 24th, I wrote an open letter to Elder Wilson, which I will read at this time. Mr. Wilson, an open letter from my desk was sent to you on November 19, 2010, detailing my dismay at Mr. Orville D. Parchment's apology to one senior lady, Ms. S. Hatch of Anza, California. The subject matter of my objections concerned the faulty grounds stated for pursuing the protection of your church's good name and corporate identity via the strong arm of civil government. I received no acknowledgement of receipt, answer, or rebuttal from any of your staff. The nature of this open letter, addressed to you, though applicable to your world constituency, is intimately related to my initial letter. Recently, I was inspired to write you a letter during my incarceration at the Central Detention Center in San Bernardino, California, for the conscientious exercise of my faith, Creation Seventh-day Adventism. The Spirit of grace did not move me to compose it until now, and that providentially prompted by your fine article published in Adventist World NAD edition, August 2012, bearing the title Freedom of Conscience. I highly appreciated your views, which I intend to develop further in this letter. You wrote the following on page 8, quote, "Religious liberty and freedom of conscience are gifts from God, gifts centered in free choice. These gifts are important for everyone in the world, and they are integral to our sharing the good news of the ultimate gift of Jesus himself," unquote. This paragraph is powerful in its scope and could not have been said any better. Oh, that every professed Christian in the world would internalize and live by these simple and eternal concepts. Continuing on page 8, you state, quote, "Seventh-day Adventists have always embraced religious liberty as an integral part of their beliefs, history, and mission. Religious liberty is in the very DNA of our church," unquote. In declaring this, you bring the matter home and close to the heart of Creation's Seventh-day Adventists, who find themselves persecuted in America for their conscientious exercise of the faith of Jesus and implicit trust in and obedience to God's divine mandates. The next paragraph says, quote, "Religious freedom is a fundamental freedom, a basic human right," unquote. You have emphasized this sentence with the following footnote. Quote, "See the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, adopted by the United Nations General Assembly on December 10, 1948. Even ostensibly secular organizations have recognized and enshrined this right," unquote. Logically, if religious liberty is in the very DNA of the church, and even ostensibly secular organizations have recognized and enshrined this right, one would think the Seventh-day Adventist Church leaders and legal experts would be extremely sensitive to the principles involved whenever the church employs the state to sustain their religious institutions and identity. Turning to page 9, you write, quote, "History has shown the disastrous effects on religious freedom when church and state become united," unquote. Of course, this truth has been repeated time and time again within the ranks of Seventh-day Adventism and inherited by creation Seventh-day Adventism. In fact, the image of the beast prophesied in Revelation 13 is formed by this unholy union of the world with the church. Just as the beast, or papacy, was formed by the marriage of pagan Rome to the apostate Catholic Church, Seventh-day Adventists and creation Seventh-day Adventists alike have expected apostate Protestantism to marry the United States government to the degree that Sabbath keepers will have their liberty of conscience restricted. Religious persecution ultimately ensues, as we have seen in our instant controversy over the SDA trademark name. Under the section titled "A Fundamental Freedom," you make your personal preference known. Quote, "My choice must always be for a state where religious freedom is described as a fundamental freedom and has the status of a protected human right," unquote. I perceive that you must endorse the Religious Freedom Restoration Act, RFRA, of 1993, which was an attempt by Congress to protect this fundamental human right in America. I recall the Seventh-day Adventist Church being one of the leading sponsors of this landmark legislation. But was the RFRA to be applied only when the government was a party to the lawsuit? Would this law not apply equally to lawsuits where a private party plaintiff invokes federal law to restrict the liberty of conscience of a private party defendant? We know from legal research that the appellate courts are split on this question. The General Conference legal team opted out when faced head-on with that question in General Conference et al. Versus McGill et al., while objecting to McGill's writ of certiorari at the U.S. Supreme Court. It was an unfortunate self-serving counter-strategy wrought out by your legal team, endeavoring to salvage a General Conference victory. You and your constituency should be embarrassed and ashamed at this cowardly and hypocritical legal maneuver. I thoroughly agree with your relevant application of principle in the next paragraph. Quote, "A secular state can be supported by believers so long as it doesn't oppose the values of their faith. Christians are called to obey authorities and to respect the state. But when there is a conflict between the faith of Jesus and the claims of the state, we have a higher mandate. We must obey God rather than men. Acts 5:29, King James Version, unquote. This is the standard I have applied consistently respecting my personal response to the civil sanctions imposed on me by your legal team via United States federal magistrates. I cannot alter my course of action in light of my conscientious convictions. I am bound by my conscience to obey a higher mandate from the Almighty God of the living and the dead. Why do you have difficulty understanding my motives? Why do you not support me in my convictions? Why are you taking the stand of an adversary to freedom of conscience in America? These questions may be skirted and answered with purely legalistic jargon or worldly ideals of corporate policy. But I appeal to you, take a moment to consider my questions with a soft Christian heart of flesh, applying Scripture and Scripture alone. Then, take another step that requires you to advocate for the immutable principles of Seventh-day Adventism under the advisement of the Spirit of prophecy. Some will be honest when it costs nothing, but when policy will pay best, honesty is forgotten. Honesty and policy will not work together in the same mind. In time, either policy will be expelled and truth and honesty reign supreme, or if policy is cherished, honesty will be forgotten. They are never in agreement. They have nothing in common. One is the prophet of Baal, the other is the true prophet of God. Found in Lift Him Up, page 287. On the last page of your article, page 10, under Tension Brings Opportunities, I quote your words. If intolerant, ideological secularism attacks our religious faith, we must stand up for our faith with conviction. We should not be intimidated or give up, but we must face the challenge with the Christian weapons of hope, endurance, perseverance, kindness, and love, unquote. Mr. Wilson, I have followed your counsel precisely when faced with the civil and secular sanctions decreed against me under the color of trademark law, resulting in my incarceration at your hands. In the very next paragraph, we read these words of challenge. Quote, let's be fully engaged in our strong commitment and personal actions to live lives that promote religious liberty and freedom of conscience. Let's speak and advocate our positions in a winsome manner with grace, conviction, and passion. Let's seek wisdom from heaven to accomplish the great task of championing religious freedom, enlisting support from government and civic leaders as well as the general public, unquote. I offer my resounding amen to your appeal to the Seventh-day Adventist Church constituency. I further appeal to your legal counselors who make important decisions in connection with your perceived need to protect your good name and denominational identity in the secular world. Had the church not been married to the world, this appeal would not have been necessary. Had your church not chosen Caesar as her protector, this open letter would not have been written. If you had fulfilled the law of God according to the Scriptures and the Spirit of prophecy, creation's Seventh-day Adventists would never have separated from your communion. You would not now be our former brethren. Testimonies, Volume 5, page 463, says this, quote, "The work which the church has failed to do in a time of peace and prosperity, she will have to do in a terrible crisis, under most discouraging, forbidding circumstances. The warnings that worldly conformity has silenced or withheld must be given under the fiercest opposition from enemies of the faith. And at that time, the superficial conservative class, whose influence has steadily retarded the progress of the work, will renounce the faith and take their stand with its avowed enemies, toward whom their sympathies have long been tending. These apostates will then manifest the most bitter enmity, doing all in their power to oppress and malign their former brethren and to excite indignation against them. This day is just before us. The members of the church will individually be tested and proved. They will be placed in circumstances where they will be forced to bear witness for the truth. Many will be called to speak before councils and in courts of justice, perhaps separately and alone." Unquote. Mr. Wilson, I have recently completed a 40-day fast for you and your SDA constituents. I make my formal appeal to you and those precious souls in covenant with you. Please allow Creation's Seventh-day Adventists in America and the world the blessing of freedom of conscience, which is by your own words, quote, "a fundamental freedom, a basic human right," unquote. In the work of preparing a people to stand in the day of the Lord, I remain your faithful servant in the voluntary bonds of Jesus Christ. Walter Chick McGill, Pastor, the Creation Seventh Day and Adventist Church. One closing comment from Review and Herald, August 6th, 1889, page 500. Quote, "How important that the victory over the world be complete, so that the special victory over the beast and his image will be assured." Unquote. I am Pastor Walter Chick McGill. Good day.